The seat height. So when I was talking to Paul at Crazy Horse, he said that someone was trading theirs for an MV because they felt like it was a bit tall. And it is surprisingly tall, the seat height. Yeah. I looked just before you came over, and I think it's 835 or 840 millimeters.
I heard 40, yeah.
840, that's it. Which I've just had the Africa Twin.
Yeah.
In its low seat height, that's 850. And in its high setting. So with the standard seat, so you can buy a high seat and a low seat, but the standard seat can go in two settings. One's 870, one's 850. Presumably the low seat option is like 830, 835. So you can have an Africa Twin with a lower seat than that. That's crazy.
And you expect a taller bike from something like an Africa Twin.
Yeah, it's got long suspension.
Or a GS or a Tiger or something.
Yeah,
you would
and high ground clearance.
It's strange when you get on. And also, I saw a few different reviews and they were talking about it being low. I don't know why or where that sort of came from. But I think maybe they were just talking about the weight of it.
Yeah,
because
and visually
it's not a low bike. It's a really tall bike. And it's got quite a wide seat as well.
Yeah, but I personally, researching this, like I said, I was looking at an Indian forum and there was people, it was a post from a couple of years ago when the bike came out, and it was people who'd been to demo it at a dealer and, just giving their first impressions and talking about whether they might buy one. And someone was like, oh, it was too tall, I couldn't flat foot it. And then that kind of triggered this whole thread of, oh, here we go, like another person can't flat foot a bike. And they were all kind of like ripping into them. And I thought, oh, that's interesting because I don't personally care about I'm not tall.
No,
I don't care about flat footing a bike.
Yeah. And also, not to sort of downtrodden my brother, but he's 5'7", and he's just bought himself a new bike, and he was saying about the flat footing thing. It's a VFR. I'm well looking forward to riding that thing.
A new one or an old one?
No, it's an old one, yeah. But I've never ridden the V4 before, so I'm really curious to have a little go. But no, he brings that up as well, but he's quite a diminutive man, my brother. So to him, it's a huge deal. Whereas, again, we ride loads of bikes, and I've been on bikes where you go, oh, God, that's a bit tall. And maybe I wouldn't own it myself, but I would never condemn a bike for being a bit taller. And it doesn't put me off hugely, as long as it doesn't feel really sort of ungainly going around a corner. You know the ones that feel really tall when you sort of try and dip them in? I never really feel that comfortable on those kind of bikes, but stopping at lights and stuff like that, usually you can sort of shift your weight between legs. At least if you can get one leg down, you're still reasonably good. I get the risk it would be maybe if you're pulling up at like a curb and it's a little lower on one side and you don't account for it and fall over. But other than that,
yeah, I mean, I must admit, when I was on the, I think it was the Tiger 900 launch, but this has happened to me multiple times. I think on the Moto Guzzi V85 TT launch, bikes that are tall like that, I think when I jumped on the Tiger, it's got the same seat height and two settings as the Africa Twin, so it's 870, which is tall for me. I'm like 5'9", so it's when you're on uneven ground. Quite often on those press strips, you're in like laybys, waiting for the photographer for your next pass. Yeah. And if let's say the road is angling away from you to the left, and you've got the bike on the side stand, when I get on it, sometimes I can't pick it up because I can only reach the floor with 1 foot, and it's proper difficult. So sometimes I've had to push it a little bit, maneuver it, and then jump on. So I do understand that like bikes can be too tall and that makes them a little bit difficult to deal with. But flat footing on either side, like flat footing means both sides, feet flat on the floor.
Yeah.
I just don't know how many bikes.
Well, yeah, I know what I mean.
Realistically, you can do that with. One thing I did think though is it age a little bit as you get a bit older.
True.
I don't want to be. I'm in dangerous territory here.
Sorry, I just called my brother short. You can call people old. Go ahead.
No, but I just think that was kind of one thing that came out in that thread that I was reading, and I do wonder if it's not necessarily strength or kind of balance or sort of speed of reactions, but it might just be a combination of all those things that make people feel like they don't want to.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, again, if you've got back problems or hip problems, that's going to be a big consideration too.
Interesting, though.
I get it,
but this is a bloody long way of me saying that although it's got a high seat, I didn't actually find it problematic because you've got the fuel tank under the seat, so the weight's slung a little bit lower than if you've got an adventure bike with like a 20 odd litre tank and that's right up high.
Yeah.
And then when you feel overbalanced on one of those, it's well scary.
Well, that's what I mean. So yeah, low speed stuff, you want to feel like the weight's a little bit lower. At least I do. I prefer that because again, that means that I can feel a bit more comfortable with it. I was going like, you know, when you're going behind cars and you're just trickling through and you don't even have to put your feet down, but you're not even moving. It was really, really stable for that sort of stuff. And again, going around corners, I like the weight being quite low. The compromise there is that you generally have to lean it over a little bit further. So if it's quite a tall bike and it's got the weight up high, then you don't have to lean over quite as much to get the same kind of turning angle out of it. But if it is low weight and really long wheelbase as this one is, one of the things I picked up on was the fact that you do have to lean it over to get the same kind of steering angle out of it going around a bend. Which I love.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because it makes me feel, because if you, and I was saying, not to get too childish but I like being a little closer to the ground because that gives you some context and makes you feel like you're going a little bit faster.
Yeah, it feels faster, doesn't it? It does, like...
Nothing unsafe about it, but no, I really like a bit of a lean. And I'm sure I could go way further. When I feel like my elbow's on the floor, I must be like 2 foot off. I must be much further up.